Hello and welcome. Keep your eyes on the ball, the president tells APC leadership and members, says the party cannot afford to jeopardize its chances in the 2023 general elections. Ahead of its national convention, the People's Democratic Party inaugurates committee to work out a plan on the zoning of elective positions. Federal government moves to revamp the nation's health system with a 10-year, 2.7 trillion naira plan. Vice President Oshibajo says the country's health sector can only be as successful as its primary health care delivery.
And in international news from London, NATO leaders gather for an emergency meeting in Brussels 1 month on from Russia's invasion in Ukraine.
On business news tonight, Lagos receives over 90% inflow as Nigeria's capital importation climbs by 26% to $2.19 billion in the fourth quarter of 2021.
On sports news tonight, Super Eagles of Nigeria are now in Kumasi, Ghana for the crucial FIFA World Cup playoff against the Black Stars of Ghana on Friday.
And from Abuja, the Chief of Defense Staff vows tough action against any military officer or security operative caught in the illegal oil refinery business in the Niger Delta.
Permutations and intrigue continue on who emerges flag bearers of various political parties and which parties will eventually come out victorious in the 2023 general elections. Amid all this is the contentious issue of the zoning of political officers by parties among the various regions in the political calculations. But let's begin with how the ruling All Progressives Congress is resolving its internal differences, with the president challenging the party's leadership to channel its energy into improving the chances of the APC in the forthcoming elections. President Muhammadu Buhari stated this when he received the APC members of the National Assembly leadership at the State House. Our State House correspondent Gloria Umezuke reports.
In a renewed effort to put the All Progressives Congress House in order, the president meets with several groups, including the leadership of the National Assembly, in last-minute engagements before the March 26 National Convention. The dominant metaphor here is one of focus. The president urges members of the APC to see victory on every side through only one lens.
We cannot afford to do anything that will jeopardize the chances of the party in the 2023 general elections. The limited time frame of the INEC timetable does not permit us any room for delay or further squabbling. We must therefore, in the light of this reality, consistently keep our eyes on the ball and refuse any distraction.
Limiting friction through a smooth and rancor-free national convention is also crucial for the president, as the forthcoming exercise would set the tone for 2023.
I therefore enjoin you to collaborate with the various stakeholders within and outside your respective states and zones to agree to work together and harmoniously in electing into the allotted positions appropriately as stipulated in the provided template.
Out of the meeting, the NAS leadership in a briefing affirmed their support towards a consensus. They, however, assert that the APC and the 9th Assembly have done well in spite of existing challenges in the country.
This meeting with Mr. President has given us more energy. We believe that there is a father, at least in our party, there is a president who will ensure that once there are disagreements, he is able to call everybody to order and to ensure that the family continues. But that is not to say that we are not facing some challenges. We are, but we are squaring up to ensure that we deal with those challenges.
Now, there are many reasons why the APC National Assembly leadership feel the need to get it right on March 26, particularly so that Nigerians can take the party even more seriously by 2023. Now, they have passed salient legislations according to them and cooperated even with the opposition members in the Assembly. And now they're hoping that more members would embrace the consensus view in the interest of peace going forward. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the APC continues to ramp up preparations ahead of its national convention on Saturday. The various convention committees were at the party's national secretariat today to tidy up activities for a successful convention. Our correspondent Dele Omoyeni monitored events at the secretariat and now reports.
The All Progressives Congress Convention Subcommittee on Media and Publicity is headed by Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State. The committee, which has Minister of Information and Culture Alhaji Lai Mohammed and Presidential Aide Malam Shehu Garba as members, is assuring the media that preparations are on to ensure that they have adequate access during the event. He also speaks on plans to settle for a consensus candidate.
This was an appeal made by Mr. President in order to show leadership. So he said that once we agree on the consensus and all the aspirants agree, it is only fair that what they pay should be refunded to them. So it was a request actually made by Mr. President to the leadership of the party, and the leadership was seated there and they did not object. So I will say the leadership of the party is also in agreement with the request made by Mr. President in that order.
Meanwhile, the leadership of the Pre-Convention Policy Planning Committee were absent at the briefing of the committee. However, the secretary of the committee, Mr. Garba Abari, who is the Director General of the National Orientation Agency, says the party will hold a policy dialogue on its manifesto ahead of its convention.
The policy conference will be structured into different panel discussions that will focus on core thematic areas as the economy, governance, human development. This will enable the resource persons and the participants to create central connectivity that holds the party's development agenda since 2015 when it came into office. The sessions are designed to be intense, interactive, and stimulating between the panelists and the participants.
The party will be welcoming delegates from across the 36 states of the Federation, and the caretaker committee is hoping for a successful outing on Saturday, March 26th. Dele Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
And in order to prevent post-convention crisis, the APC says it's releasing a unity list, which is expected to address the concerns of all contestants and have their buy-in. And that's according to the governor of Plateau State, Simon Lalong, who was speaking on our program, Politics Today.
The unity list will come out on the day of the election. It may come out, it may not come out.
Okay.
That's what I will tell you. But is what people agree. Yes, you are talking of unity list because at this stage, the unity list, everybody will tell you is that it's a confirmation of the fact that all the states have agreed and everything that we put in process after due consultations, we all agree that these are our representatives. But that notwithstanding, it does not stop anybody from going ahead to contest the election. But in most cases, when people talk about unity list, it is obvious that if you are contesting, it means that there's a limit to how far you can go because it is already extended to other various states. And at that stage, every state is protecting also our own nomination.
And over in the People's Democratic Party, it's a waiting game for the zoning formula, which the party's National Working Committee has inaugurated a committee charged with the responsibility of ensuring fair distribution of party elective officers across the country. The national chairman of the party, Senator Iyocha Ayu, inaugurated the committee at the party's national secretariat in Abuja, urging the members to pursue the objective of the committee without bitterness and rancor. This comes as some presidential aspirants in the party have again met to discuss the need to build a consensus. Our correspondent, Empress Simon, reports.
Barely a week after the National Executive Committee of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, approved the setting up of a zoning committee, the National Working Committee of the party inaugurates the committee.
I formally inaugurate you as members of the zoning committee of the People's Democratic Party.
The 37-man committee has governors of Taraba and Benue states as members, some former governors, serving and past federal lawmakers, and other party leaders are also members of the committee. They are urged to handle the task before them without sentiment.
PDP has a history of rotating our offices. Anybody who doesn't get this time should wait after the turn of whoever will be our next president. And I believe PDP is going to produce the next president.
The committee held its inaugural meeting at the Secretariat, where it is expected to choose its chairman and other officers. Away from the party's National Secretariat, a former president of the Senate, Senator Bukola Saraki, is hosting Governor Aminu Tambuwal of Sokoto State and his Bauchi State counterpart, Alhaji Bala Mohammed. The three of them are vying for the party's presidential ticket, but they hope to build consensus with the presidential party's aspirants.
Our plan is that, yes, there are challenges, of course. We are all eminently qualified, all eminently, even those who are not here, who we're going to meet with. That's why we're going to meet with everybody, to reassure everybody that it's also across the country that let us continue to discuss and meet and arrange those challenges.
Senator Saraki denies the allegation that there is an attempt to push the former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar out of the presidential race.
We're not shutting anybody out. As we said, we're going to see him. We're going to see other aspirants in the party. It's not about shutting anybody out. It's about uniting everybody with the interests of this country.
As the conversation around the zoning of the PDP's presidential candidate continues, it appears ensuring unity in the party has become a critical factor in its quest to reclaim the presidency in 2023. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
The former governor of Anambra State, Mr. Peter Obi, has joined the growing list of those seeking to fly the flag of the People's Democratic Party in the presidential election in 2023. Mr. Obi declared his intention to run for president at a gathering of traditional rulers in Awka. According to the former governor, who is contesting on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, he's not seeking political appointment, but an opportunity to fix Nigeria as well as unite the country.
My job here is simple. Is to inform you people, as my own fathers, that I will be contesting, aspiring, because at this stage, we're all aspirants. I'll be aspiring for the post of President of Nigeria. And I'm doing so after careful study of Nigeria and where Nigeria is today. Nigeria today is at its lowest in cohesion. We are too divided. I believe the government that will lead will unite Nigeria, will bring Nigeria. We need unity and peace for the progress of the country. I believe in Nigeria.
In part 2, after the break, we bring you an update on the fire that engulfed shops under the bridge at the Apongbong area of Lagos Island. That's in a moment. So join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Keep your eyes on the ball, the president tells the APC leadership and members, says the party cannot afford to jeopardize its chances in the 2023 general elections. Ahead of its national convention, the PDP inaugurates committee to work out a zoning plan of elected positions in the 2023 general elections. Federal government moves to revamp the nation's health system with a 10-year, 2.7 trillion naira plan. And NATO allies meeting in Brussels warn Russia against the use of chemical weapons in its invasion of Ukraine. US says it could respond. To health matters, and Nigeria's healthcare system can only be as successful as its primary healthcare system. Well, these were the words of the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, at the opening of the two-day Primary Healthcare Summit holding in Abuja. The focus is on revamping Nigeria's primary healthcare system with a 10-year, 2.7 trillion naira plan, which the Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency says will be successful. Our State House correspondent, Kayla Megwa, reports.
Reimagining Nigeria's primary health care has brought stakeholders in Nigeria's health sector from all over the country to Abuja for this two-day summit. Nigeria has over 30,000 primary health care centers, most of which are non-functional, leading to Nigeria's high disease burden and dismal health indicators. The Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Faisal Shuaib, while breaking down the four-point agenda for reimagining Nigeria's primary health care, says now is the time to treat Nigeria's health care as a crisis that it is.
It's also important that we deliver a program that is efficient, so that it's not all the time that we ask for more money, but also ensure that we are providing more health for the money that we get.
Issues the reimagining plan seeks to address include inadequate human resources, suboptimal financing, poor governance and performance management, poor physical infrastructure at primary healthcare centers, limited demand for primary healthcare services, limited availability of supplies, and poor data quality and availability. The plan is to have one functional primary healthcare center in every ward in Nigeria. For the Vice President, a lot more needs to be done to face Nigeria's depressing health indices. He stresses the need to fund Nigeria's healthcare from sources other than the government and the dire need for health insurance.
There is no way that healthcare funding can be paid by government budgets alone. It's simply impossible. The size of the federal government budget itself is so constrained that there is absolutely no way that we can expect to fund healthcare by just budgets. And so healthcare insurance is an important pool of resources for funding healthcare on the scale that will be required for a country of 200 million people or more.
The assurances given at today's summit is that this reimagining of primary healthcare centers across the country will be a lot more than just slapping on some paint on some moribund health centers. They say the political will and the backbone of the NPHCDA is enough to ensure that this 2.7 trillion naira plan actually yields some results. The Vice President speaking there saying that a lot needs to be done to ensure that Nigeria achieves universal health care in the time that is allotted. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
And back here in Lagos, let's bring you an update on the fire incident on Lagos Island, where a section of the Akbongbong end of the Niger Bridge remains closed to motorists. The partial closure is to allow relevant authorities carry out an inspection on the parts of the bridge affected by the inferno. Already, some traders who have stores under the bridge have started removing what's left of their belongings, following an ultimatum given to them to vacate the area. Our correspondent, Olu Phillips, has more.
It's the day after. For hours, the base of this bridge received heavy pounding from a raging fire, leaving in its wake wanton destruction, heap of debris, and commodity ruins. Traders can be seen trying to salvage what could be left of the ruins and hardly could pick anything off their stores, which was raised by the inferno. Already, commuters and those whose business calls are in and around the vicinity are already having a piece of the bitter pill as traffic has been diverted consequent upon the closure of the affected Akongwa end of the Echo Bridge.
Normally within 15-20 minutes, I also got into my destination. Well, I'm spending about 2 hours now. But they are trying. I can see their work. I commend them.
As I am like this now, I have appointment and I can't meet up because of the traffic.
Every space around the loop and under the bridge is taken up by traders who say to us they've been at this for the past 30 years. Following this disaster, an evict notice of 7 days has been issued to the traders. A call, this woman says, will exacerbate the pain of their losses.
I would say it's billions of naira, because you can see how many containers is there. So, and they couldn't pick anything out because we are trying to call them during the early hour to come and open, but nobody was picking. There's nothing we could do. We can't open their store at their back. Before they got here early in the morning, everything is gone. So we are just appealing to the government to please have mercy on us. There's nowhere to go.
Make no mistakes about the level of audacity by the occupants of what should be a reserved area. They say government take levies from them, both at the local government level and the state level.
How can we be staying under here and we will not pay any revenue to the Lagos state government or local government? It's not possible. It's not possible. We are paying all our revenues. We have the receipts that we are paying all the revenues. When we pay to the local government, we pay into the banks.
The Federal Ministry of Works says it is yet to commence an assessment of the obviously damaged section of the bridge to determine its integrity. We are told the heat has to simmer down because the iron rod in the concrete have expanded after being subjected to intense heat. By March 31st, 2022, activities around bridges in Lagos are expected to cease. In recent past, directives like this have been issued following similar incidents, but no sooner that the evacuation happens, human activities resume. This time, will government enforce its own laws? Is this the beginning of the end to trading and business ventures in unauthorized locations across the metropolis? When a repair schedule is announced, will it take a toll on commuting? The answers are in the near future. You can only wait. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Difficult situation there. We cross over to Abuja. Here's Makwe Ogun Yusuf. Makwe.
Hello, Ijoma. We now shift attention to the Niger Delta, where the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, is vowing to deal ruthlessly with any military officer and security operative caught in the act of oil theft. General Rabo says the military is deploying strategies to contain the activities of oil thieves in the region. He was speaking after an on-the-spot assessment of illegal refineries in Rivers State.
Smoke billows the sky in Iba community in Emoha local government area of Rivers State. It's one of the illegal refineries in the Niger Delta region, and the high-powered delegation is carrying out an on-the-spot assessment of the area to combat the threat on the nation's oil installations. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timipre Silva, and the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Mr. Melekiari, are leading the team in a renewed effort to combat the threat. Lamenting the impact of the menace on the livelihoods of the people in the area, the delegation plans to work with the community to address the challenge.
When you see what is happening on the pipeline and the scale of what is happening, clearly is beyond any explanation, in the sense that, we do have to take care of it in terms of security, in terms of technology. Maybe we haven't done enough on all of them, but I think I can see the traction today in the manner in which we approach these issues today, the combined efforts of the government security agencies, the community, and also the oil companies. We think this is a very different approach, and it will work out.
While it is evident that the vandals may have escaped ahead of the delegation's arrival, there is a reinforced collaboration among security agencies, regulators, oil companies and host communities to end oil theft. The Chief of Defense Staff issues a warning.
Our approach is going to be very comprehensive, and that's why we're here. And of course, I've also told, members of the armed forces I'm going to be ruthless with anyone that is found to have engaged in the malfeasance. But I can assure you that at the end of it all, there will be greater improvement in the entire space.
As the federal government plans to deploy the necessary technology to tackle the menace, this renewed effort, which is coming on the heels of a presidential directive, is expected to boost the nation's revenue from oil.
Meanwhile, the battle against insurgency continues, and the defense headquarters says troops have killed 17 terrorists, in addition to the arrest of 35 others in the northeast in the past 2 weeks. Director Defense Media Operations, Major General Bernard Onyeko, who briefed journalists in Abuja on military operations, added that over 100 terrorists also surrendered to the military. According to him, the successes came as the troops of Operation Hadinkai sustained an aggressive posture by conducting clearance operations against Boko Haram and ISWAP terrorists, as well as other criminal elements in the theater of operations. Still ahead on the news at 10, Lagos receives over 90% inflows as Nigeria's capital importation climbs by 26% to over $2 billion in the fourth quarter of 2021. That's some business news. Do join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10. As the impact of the Russia-Ukraine conflict reverberates around the world, Chevening scholars have been asked to position themselves to contribute positively to the challenges that will result from the crisis. This is coming from the British High Commissioner, Mrs. Katrina Ling, at the welcome home ceremony of the Chevening 2020-2021 returning set at her residence in Abuja. She urged them to remember why they were chosen and play their part in Nigeria's growth trajectory.
The Chevening Scholarship is one of the most prestigious international scholarships backed by the British Foreign and Commonwealth Office, availing foreign students with leadership qualities the opportunity to study at universities in the United Kingdom. This welcome home ceremony at the home of the British High Commissioner in Abuja is in honor of the 2020-2021 set of scholars who just returned after a year of study in the United Kingdom.
Here to look for food, I'm afraid.
Delivering her opening remarks, the British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Katrina Ling, reminds them why they were chosen from the 7,000 students who applied, while commending Nigeria for the choices it has made following the Russia-Ukraine crisis.
Nigeria, the giant of Africa, your voice, particularly now, is going to be very important, and that means all of you. So do think about Russia-Ukraine, what impact it's having, and what you can do to try and bolster together this coalition, what our Foreign Secretary calls a network of liberty in a world which is really looking very dangerous and threatening. But we stick together, hopefully we'll come through.
The newly returned Chevening alumni speak on their journey.
Going for the visa interview, we all lined up. We went through some things, did our biometric capture and the rest of them, and then we sat down and everyone was waiting to be called in to be interviewed. And then here comes this lady and says, are there any Cheveners here? We raised up our hands, and then she said, okay, you have no interview, you can leave. Yes. So I turned and smiled and waved at the unfortunate souls behind me and took off.
Interacting with other people from across the world. And at first, I wasn't so fast to lend my voice, maybe in class, in contributions and all. But after some time, the little I say seemed to make sense. I counter my professor, and he says, very good one, me. And then I was, nobody made me feel little. I was able to sit at tables that previously I would run away from.
After some more advice on how to practicalize their leadership skills by other alumni, they are presented with certificates. This new group is in addition to the network of friends of the United Kingdom who will be future leaders in their various countries.
In the southeast of the country, some cheery news for Nigerians who have been looking forward to start using the second Niger Bridge, which is still under construction. The federal government says the bridge linking Anambra and Delta State, earlier scheduled for completion in February 2022, is now at 91% completion stage. Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, said this today during the special ministerial weekly briefing at the State House in Abuja.
All of this from here to here is 206 billion naira, thereabouts. 1.6 kilometer bridge and 10 kilometers of access road combined. The length of the road that I told you about, the amount, 206 billion. The amount that has been certified to date is 160 billion, and the percentage level is 91%. At the moment, 1,486 people are directly employed here. So this is a place where people go every day and say, leave home and say, I'm going to work. So if you look at that, that is 1,484 families. Then the spin-offs, the indirect jobs, and I'll come back to this again, 8,110 people live off this bridge. Because this is happening, they are employed.
Well, that's all from the nation's capital. It's back to you, Ijoma.
Thanks a lot, Markwe. The role of future-gazing analysis in addressing emerging global trends and challenges has been highlighted as part of the submissions of various speakers and guests at the launch of the Nigerian edition of The Economist's forecasting brand, The World Ahead 2022 in Lagos. Our correspondent Chris Elems was there and now reports.
Guests drawn from various sectors of the Nigerian economy, professionals and captains of industry arrived at Eco Hotel in Lagos to be part of an epoch-making event. It's the official launch of the Nigerian version of The Economist future-gazing publication, The World Ahead 2022, which gives insight and expert analysis on emerging trends and equip users with valuable tools to respond. This publication is in collaboration with CT Production.
Over the last few years, we fought hard to ensure that African voices get represented within the globally recognized and widely read Economist. Alongside a prestigious book, City Productions will also be launching the pioneer Pan-African edition of our already known Focus magazine. Here we have relevant content from across our African markets.
It's been 36 years since the publication of the Future Gazing Annual in over 90 countries and 20 languages. The deputy editor of The Economist and chief executive officer of The World Ahead, who joins the event virtually, expresses delight at the prospect on offer by the Nigerian edition.
What is clear is that to navigate the unpredictable environment of the coming months and years, you will need to expose yourself to as many ideas as possible, understand the broadest range of possibilities, and take advantage of every tool that's available to you. And we hope that the world ahead will be one of them.
These views also shared by other guests and strategic partners, including the Acting Executive Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, Emeka Ofo.
The federal government is not oblivious of the challenges in the economy. A lot has been said about the challenges, but our Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, we encourage all to see those challenges from the standpoint of opportunities.
It's time to officially unveil the package, which is under an exclusive license.
Congratulations!
Woo! With contributions from leading lights of various industries, professionals, editors, correspondents, and judging by the myriads of topical issues on offer in this edition. Readers, no doubt, will have their minds stretched and better positioned to make informed decisions. Chris Elems, Channels Television News.
Let's take a look at some business now. Here's Anne Waudu.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Ijoma. Hello and welcome to Business News. The value of capital importation into Nigeria hit $2.19 billion in the fourth quarter of 2021. And that's according to latest data coming from the National Bureau of Statistics. That data, which is contained in the capital report released by the NBS, represents 26.35% increase when compared to the $1.73 billion inflow recorded in the third quarter of last year. Further analysis on that report shows that the largest amount of total capital imported received from other investments, which accounted for 54.24% of the total capital importation, and followed by portfolio and foreign direct investment. Meanwhile, Lagos emerged as the most attractive investment destination as it accounted for 90.66% of the inflow, while Mauritius held the #1 spot on the list of countries for the capital inflow. Nigeria still remains an investment hub for willing investors, and one of the latest investors is Mr. Enrique Banulios, the chairman of Bendinet Group, a real estate company based in Spain. He has been in Nigeria for a couple of days now, and he sees opportunities in the Nigerian real sector. Mr. Enrique Banulios was a guest of the chairman of Channels Media Group, Dr. John Momo, at Channels Global Headquarters in Lagos, where he told Channels Television business correspondent Ladi Williams that investing in Nigeria is an opportunity he's anxious to explore.
In this, my first visit of Nigeria, I have meetings in the last days in Abuja with the Vice President, okay, in Nigeria, and together with the governor, the state of Lagos. The idea is proposed at the government of Nigeria and the state of Lagos one international hub or district for to do, okay, one activity, the addition value, okay, in the activity of international. The hub is more or less the 50 to 100 hectares. The construction, my group, one international hospital and a school, facility of business, hotels, resorts, facilities, entertainment, and different, okay, things for create one hub for interaction better Nigeria with America, with Europe, with Asia, with the rest of the world. Attraction investment and attraction talent, okay? This is the first, okay, challenge that my group now in Nigeria. I like the model, the Lagos and Abuja is very similar and other parts of the countries, similar US with New York or Washington. This model, I think, is working very well. And the surprise, the activity, okay, of Lagos is, in my opinion, one of the city more energetic or Africa in this moment, with opportunities and the option, okay, for to do and have very, very interesting. I travel all the time. I have activities in, I think, in all the continents, in the sector, the real estate, the hub international, the companies, the banks, pharmaceutical, different sector. And today, the world changing very fast. And then I think in the future is the younger people. And in this case, Nigeria is this great, okay, young country, okay? And absolutely, okay, the new technologies and the entertainment, I think in this one sector, have the key, okay, for the future.
Mr. Enrique Banuelo talking about real estate opportunities in the country. From there, we head to the markets, where at the close of trading today, the intense sell pressure continued on some high-valued equities. Let's hear the details from Ladi Williams.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, the month of March seems to be unimpressive for the market as the mild 0.02% gain recorded in a midweek trading session was eroded by nearly 0.5% decline. And the bear is back again as month-to-date performance goes deeper and negative, and the all-share index falls below the 47,000 level for the first time since February the 2nd. Although market breadth was positive, say 14 losers had more bellwether stocks on the list, like MTN Nigeria, GTCO, File Mills, and Zenith, in contrast to 16 gainers led by Veritas Capital, as you can see on the screen. Looking at the sectoral performance, is just oil and gas in the green with sectors we track, and that's attributed to the 6.38% loan gain on Owando's share price. Well, so far, we've had just one gain this week. Let's see how the final trading session for the week turns out. Fingers crossed. And that's a stock market report. I'm Ladi Williams. It's back to you.
And that's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Ijama will be back with the rest of the news at 10.
Thanks a lot, Anne. The EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says Russia will no longer be able to use energy to blackmail the continent and would not be allowed to demand payment in rubles for its oil and gas, as Moscow says this would amount to circumventing sanctions. It comes as NATO allies meeting in Brussels today warn Russia against the use of chemical weapons in the war in Ukraine, with the US saying it will respond depending on the nature of the use. Here's Simon Pusey with more international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. NATO leaders have gathered for an emergency summit in Brussels in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Attended by 30 members, including US President Joe Biden, they posed for the traditional so-called family photo before meeting. Jens Stoltenberg has said that NATO leaders need to discuss a security reset, with the alliance ready to approve a major increase in forces in Eastern Europe.
We are determined to continue to impose costs on Russia to bring about the end of this brutal war. We pay tribute to the great courage of the Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian armed forces fighting for their freedom and their rights. We also recognize those in Russia who are bravely speaking out against the war. We hear their voices, they matter.
Meanwhile, President Zelensky has called for solidarity a month since Russia's invasion began, speaking for the first time in English. Addressing the NATO summit, Zelensky said Ukraine needed fighter jets, tanks, anti-ship weapons and improved air defense to repel Russian troops.
It breaks my heart.
He then made a direct appeal in English for people to support freedom and oppose Russian aggression.
Come to your squares, your streets, make yourselves visible and heard. Say that people matter, freedom matters, peace matters, Ukraine matters, from March 24th, in downtowns of your cities, all as one together who want to stop the war.
The UK government has announced it is sanctioning a further 65 individuals and entities in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. This comes on top of the existing sanctions on hundreds of members of the Russian regime, including business owners and oligarchs.
Vladimir Putin is plainly determined to double down on his path of violence and aggression. Absolutely brutal way he's treating the Ukrainian people. We've got to step up. We've got to increase our support, and we've got to tighten the economic vice around Putin, sanctioning more people today as we are, sanctioning the Wagner Group, looking at what we can do to stop Putin using his gold reserves, but also doing more to help the Ukrainians defend themselves.
Ukrainian officials say a Russian landing ship has been destroyed and 2 other boats have been damaged in the occupied Ukrainian port city of Berdansk. The Ukrainian military posted footage early on Thursday and said the Orsk had been hit by its forces. Details of what caused the explosion and fire on board the ship are unclear. Berdansk was seized 4 days after Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia says it had used the port as a base to ferry in equipment for its troops. Pieces of engine wreckage from the passenger plane that crashed in South China's Guangxi province earlier this week have been recovered. In the core area of the accident site, rescuers recovered parts of the engine blade and turbine parts. They also expanded the search area, making all-out efforts to search for possible survivors and retrieve the other black box on the plane. The plane, with 132 people on board, crashed on the afternoon of March the 21st in a village in Guangxi's Tenxian County. No survivors have been found so far. 1 black box of the plane has been recovered. South Korea's military says it has conducted a live-fire test of multiple ballistic and tactical missiles immediately after an intercontinental ballistic missile launch by North Korea. The South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff said the test confirmed the military was capable of a precision strike, if needed, against the location of any North Korean missile launch. It comes after Japan said North Korea had tested a banned intercontinental ballistic missile for the first time since 2017. People in Paraguay's capital, Asunción, are asking for help after major flooding. Roads and streets have been deluged with water, damaging cars while people try to pump water out of their properties. Some affected residents are frustrated because they say they haven't received immediate support in the wake of the disaster, which occurred on Tuesday night. And Britain's Prince William has expressed profound sorrow over the appalling atrocity of slavery during a speech in Kingston in Jamaica.
Slavery was abhorrent, and it should never have happened.
On day 2 of his trip to the Caribbean nation with his wife Kate, William addressed an audience hosted by the Governor-General of Jamaica, Patrick Allen, and said the pain of slavery runs deep. The speech made reference to the International Day of Remembrance of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade, which takes place on Friday. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thanks a lot, Simon. Some sports now. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Ijoma. Three-time African champions, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, are now in Kumasi, Ghana, for the crucial FIFA World Cup playoff clash against the Black Stars of Ghana. Technical advisor Augustin Iguavoin says his troops are set and would only aim at victory when the game commences at 8:30 p.m. Nigerian time on Friday. Victory over the Black Stars tomorrow would initiate a potential, or give them the potential, for an exclusive encounter at the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, coming up on Tuesday. In a bid to reposition para-sports federations in Nigeria, the federal government has announced the dissolution of the boards of the federations. The para-sports federations are amputee football, para-athletics, para-swimming, para-powerlifting, para-soccer, deaf sports, and wheelchair basketball. Well, Ashley Barty has pointed towards a potential coaching role in the future as she underlined her desire to stay involved with the sport following her shock decision to retire. Now, speaking to reporters in Brisbane a day after announcing her retirement, the 25-year-old says she can't wait to get on court to teach youngsters how to play the game of tennis. And Formula One drivers have arrived at the Jeddah Cronich circuit ahead of Sunday's Saudi Arabian Formula One Grand Prix. Now, Ferrari's Charles Leclerc will be looking to pad his lead after he won the season opener in Bahrain last week. However, challengers will be nipping at Ferrari's heels after Leclerc and teammate Carlos Sainz went 1-2 in the opener. And that's sports news.
Thanks, Ayotunde. And the main news again. President Muhammadu Buhari today told APC leadership and members to stay focused ahead of the March 26th National Convention. He said the party cannot afford to jeopardize its chances in the 2023 general elections. Also today, the People's Democratic Party inaugurated the committee to work out a plan on the zoning of elective positions ahead of its national convention. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thanks so much for staying with us. I'm Ijoma Inyato. Good night.